Terrific. Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Valier, and I'm the president of Friends of Woodford's Corner. I'm really excited tonight that we're just doing a community conversation about like sustainability and all aspects we can think about. Very excited to have Katrina, I hope I say this right, Venhuizen. Venhuizen?
You got it.
Oh, yay. From Venhuizen. She's from Ecomaine, and Troy Moon, who's from the City of Portland Sustainability Program. And so, yeah, we just want to talk trash and like learn as citizens how we can do more sustainable. It's one of the biggest missions in our corner is sustainability from every aspect, taking care of the environment in all ways, the built environment, the cultural environment, the historic environment, and the stuff. What do we do with all the trash? So I'm going to go ahead and let a couple questions actually as people are coming in. Katrina and Troy, how do you feel about people do you want them to hold questions, or would you like to wait until you're done, or go ahead and ask questions as they were thinking, or pop things in the chat? How would you like to go about them?
Pop things in the chat also, or hold on to them, just because as I go through, I tend to answer probably 80% of the questions that will be asked as I go through.
Okay, great.
And then any remaining I will absolutely answer after.
Terrific. Yeah. And yeah, so we'll watch in the chat for that, and Megan will keep an eye on that, and we'll make sure that we come back around. The other person I'd love to introduce is Megan Kirschbaum, our outstanding graduate assistant that we adore and would not be able to do what we do without her. She's from the University of Southern Maine Policy Planning and Management graduate program. And we're very lucky that that position to work with us is done by the Maine Economic Investment Fund through the state of Maine. So on that note, Katrina, I'm going to let you go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, great. Well, I'm going to share my screen with everyone and we'll go off and away. Well, thank you so much for joining. I am the Senior Environmental Educator for Ecomaine, which is where your trash and recycling goes from Portland and the surrounding areas. So we're going to talk all about what that means and what happens and really dive into it. But first, I'd like to show where we are. So Portland is right here. You are in Portland, potentially right here. Our facilities are in Portland, right here, right by the Portland Airport, not too far away from the South Portland Mall, just to give you another big landmark of where we might you might find us. We only have one location, so it's not like we have multiple locations around the state or even around the country. We're one and done. I actually wish there were more of us. It would be great, but we have one single sort recycling facility and one waste to energy facility, and I'll talk about what both of those mean in a minute. But I like to show this map just to show you that it's not just Portland that we're talking about. We have 73 towns. Around a third of Maine's population give us trash and or recycling, depending on what the contract is. And so we've got quite a few people who give us material. We own our own waste to energy facility. So our waste energy facility takes the trash from your house, combusts it for electricity, and turns that into electricity. We also own our own single sort recycling facility. So you put your recyclables in the recycling bin, paper, plastic, metal, glass, and cardboard, and then we sort it out for you. We use machines, we use magnets, we use humans, we use all kinds of sorting materials or sorting mechanisms in order to get the things where they need to go. Of course, we'll talk plenty about how we need the right stuff from you, not everything from you. We also have what we call an ash fill or landfill that's down here. And that is where the ash goes after everything has been burned. And so that's what comes out of the waste to energy building here. And then finally, we have the food waste bunker area, which is within the waste to energy facility. So when we talk about food waste in a little bit, your food waste, if you happen to drop it off at any of the 5 free drop-off locations in Portland, comes to Ecomaine to hang out and then get transferred up to AgRecycle. So it doesn't get burned, it doesn't get sorted through the recycling building. It just kind of hangs out in this bunker until there's enough mass to then go up to AgRecycle Energy, which we'll touch on later. So we're a nonprofit, a sustainable waste management company that focuses on trash and recycling. So what are you throwing out every day? Hopefully in your recycling bin, you've got your cardboard, your paper, your glass, your metal, and your plastic. We'll talk about specifics of all those soon. Hopefully you do not have in your trash the recycling. So I'd really like you to try and get that recycling out of your trash. I'd really like you to try and get the organics or the compostable materials out of the trash. Again, we'll talk about what that is, what that consists of, and where you could bring it for free. And also, I'd like you to get your reusable items out of the trash. It's very easy to say, well, I don't need this sweater anymore. I don't read this book anymore. I don't want this toy anymore. I don't want this pan in my kitchen, this cup in my kitchen, etc. I'm just going to throw it away so I can just deal with it. Well, that's not the responsible thing to do. We need to look at things in our house and say, am I getting rid of this? Okay, great. Who can use it? Neighbors in need, Maine needs, Buy Nothing Portland group, Goodwill, Salvation Army, yard sale, give it to your friends. Whatever you do with that thing, if it's still usable, try and give it away. Because the only thing we really want in your trash is garbage. We want the non-recyclable packaging, like say a chip bag. Maybe you have diabetes and you use sharps. So that can go in the trash and only the trash. We do not want that in the recycling bin or anywhere else. Maybe you have a dog or a cat. Excrement is definitely a trash item. I don't care if it's in a plastic bag, it still does not go in the recycling. I was on a walk once with some interns that were tagging, and this guy walks over with his bag of dog poo and opens up the lid to the recycling bin, and we run over and say, no, well, what are you doing? So no poo in the recycling bin, and certainly no plastic bags in general in the recycling bin either. And of course, the same goes with diapers. This is just saying that yes, we're going to make trash, but and there is nowhere else for that trash to go. So think of your trash as trash. Think of everything else as a useful item to either give away, compost, or recycle. Because let's think about this globally. If we use paper or cardboard or even toilet paper, paper towels, napkins, that comes from trees originally. We need to try and shift our brain to recycle more and buy more recycled content material, more recycled content paper, recycled paper, toilet paper, etc., so that we can help stop this, or at least stem it a little bit. We're always going to need paper. We're always going to cut down trees, and that's okay, I guess, but we really want to try and reduce, reuse, and recycle everything we can. The problem with metals, of course, is when it comes to mining, it's very harmful for the environment. Animals certainly don't live here anymore. It's really harmful to the water and to the air. So again, reduce, reuse, and recycle everything that you can as far as metals go. And plastics are a huge issue as well. We use too much stuff. We're just a consumer society. We're a throwaway society. We need to shift our brains to say, do I need this? Can I bring my own coffee mug? Can I bring my own shopping bags? Can I use a bamboo toothbrush instead of a plastic toothbrush? So there's lots of switches that we can make in our everyday life so we have less fires at refineries, less oil spills in the ocean, less microplastics being created from litter, etc. So we can't all do everything, but we can all do something. Let's focus on the waste hierarchy. Reduce, use less stuff first. Really try and train your brain and use less stuff. Then reuse anything you can. I have personally trained my brain to bring a coffee cup to the coffee shop. If I forget my coffee cup, I don't get coffee that day. I literally have trained my brain to say, well, that's too bad. I'm sorry, you don't get coffee today. So what do? I always bring my cup with me because I want the delicious coffee. Same idea with the grocery store. If I get to the grocery store and I don't have my bags, I only allow myself to buy what I can carry out, or I just put everything back in my cart, put it all in my trunk, and then transfer it in the house when I get home. So again, maybe train your brain on one item and see where it goes. Reuse things if you can. Again, that extends to Goodwill, Salvation Army, etc. If you don't want it, give it away so someone else can reuse it. Next idea is recycle. That's turning your milk jugs, your cardboard, your metals, etc., into something else new and wonderful so that we don't have to go back to the source of the environment to get it. We don't have to cut down trees for more paper. We don't have to drill for more oil for the more plastics. We've got the materials we need right here. We just should recycle them. Compost is incredible. I love it. It is turning your food scraps, your eggshells, your banana peels, etc., from something on your countertop to something that can grow new food. So compost everything that you're able to. Even paper towels and napkins can go in the compost bin, and we make sure that that gets turned into soil. And by we, I mean Portland and the environment. Ecomaine unfortunately does not actually compost. Remember, we do hold on to the food scraps, but Ecomaine doesn't actually do anything with it. And then waste to energy. Your trash comes to Ecomaine to be, again, combusted for electricity. We do create pollution in the process. I will talk you through how that's all treated in the second half of the program. We also make that trash from 100% trash to 10% ash left over. That ash again goes to the landfill, and that's why this triangle is the smallest piece of this whole puzzle. We want you to make as little trash as possible. That would be great, because the landfill, when it fills up, it's going to take millions of dollars to cap it or close it. And it's going to take millions of dollars to open a new one. That's tax dollars. That's you and I working really hard for our money. So why would we want to waste it on a landfill when we could first reduce, reuse, recycle, and compost whenever we're able to? Let's focus on what should I recycle. Cardboard of all types, paper of all types, even shredded paper can come in the recycling bin if it's in a clear plastic bag. The reason that we want it in a clear plastic bag is that so that we can see that shredded paper in that bag, throw it downstairs where the cardboard guy is. Cardboard guy pulls it out, opens that bag, empties it into the paper baling area, and then unfortunately the bag gets thrown away, but the paper is baled. You could also use shredded paper in your compost bin. That's a great place to put it. But we do take all kinds of paper. We take your metals of different kinds. We have aluminum foil. We have the jars, the tops of your spaghetti sauce jar, salsa jar. We've got your pineapple jars, your chunky tomato soup jars, and we have your spray paint and hairspray and room spray containers. Aerosol cans are fine to recycle with us. We do want everything you give us to be empty. When it comes to stuff like this, it doesn't have to be pristine clean. So your mayonnaise jar doesn't have to be, you don't have to put it through a dishwasher. Try and give your peanut butter jar to your dog to lick out if you have one, or just use a fork, knife, spoon, spatula, etc. So we take your glass jars and containers, and we also take your plastic containers as long as they're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. We don't want plastics like straws. We don't take chip bags, which are squishy. They don't have any rigidity to them. We only allow materials that are plastic, that are containers that are 1 through 7 and are rigid, meaning again, I cannot crush it in my hand. Just going through a couple more details. Again, shredded paper, fine. Wine in a box, broth in a box, soup in a box, all fine. All your paper, your cartons even, are all great. Pizza boxes are yes. Soiled paper and wax paper and tissues and toilet paper are all no's when it comes to paper. Metal yeses include your steel, tin, aluminum, foil, pie plates, pots, pans even are recyclable. See if you can give away that pot or pan. If not, we'll definitely recycle it. The no metals are things that have like freon in them, or things that are big and dangerous, even things that are small and dangerous. Screws fall out of trucks and fall out of bales all the time, and tires get popped. We don't like that. We don't, that's no fun for anybody. So nothing big and scary and crazy, and nothing small too. We even got a saw blade at least once that was a little detrimental to people's health. So please think about what you're giving us. Riverside Recycling has a metals bin at their transfer station at Riverside Recycling on Riverside Street, just out Forest. So if you have metals that are like this, you can take it to Riverside Recycling. Don't put it in your recycling bin. The glass yeses include containers. So we don't take things like mirrors. We don't want your light bulbs. We don't want your glass from windows. We take containers. And yes, you can keep the tops on, or you can take them off. That's completely up to you. Because what we do is we smash the glass and the lids get taken out with a magnet. So either way, they're going to get separated. So it's up to you. You can put them in together. You can put them in separately. Your choice. We also take your plastic containers. Tops can be on. Plastic stays on plastic if you want to recycle it. But pretend you took off the milk jug top, you recycled the milk jug, and 3 days later you found that top. The top is not recyclable on its own. But if you put it together, if it's connected, then yes, it's absolutely recyclable. And of course, the rules of thumb is, does it have a chasing arrow like this? Does it have a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7? Is it rigid, meaning does it have shape? Even something like a raspberry container, you can squeeze it, but you can't crush it in your hand like you could a chip bag. So that's the difference between the two. And is it a container? So even though, say, a plastic spoon is rigid, it is not a container. It also doesn't have a recycling symbol on it. So it does have to answer yes to these things. And of course, it includes things like your laundry detergent jugs and your milk jugs, your shampoo bottles, your deodorant containers, all that good stuff is 100% recyclable. The no plastics are trash bags and dog food and cat food bags, chip bags, Ziploc bags, no styrofoam ever, no bubble wrap, no wood pellet bags, no to-go bags, and none of this kind of stuff. There is a really great program. The website is now bagandfilmrecycling.org. They did change it. And you can go there and you can search your specific zip code. So I happen to live in 04103. I'm going to go here and I'm going to look at all these stores that I can take my plastic films to. So this is everything from your dry cleaning bags, your bread bags, your produce bags, etc. So places like Shaw's, Hannaford's, Kohl's, Walmart, etc. There's a lot more. There's 5 more pages here. So that's just an example of where you can take these films, these bags. They go off to make Trex decking, Trex railing, and Trex furniture. So that's pretty great. Other no's include clothing and shoes, no food in the recycling bin, no electronics in the recycling bin, no dangerous liquids in the recycling bin, no liquids at all in the recycling bin. Batteries have caused fires. We don't want those. Propane tanks have caused explosions. We do not want those. Chainsaws, we do not take chainsaws. Sharps and dangerous things like knives, ammunition, no. Chains, pillows, blankets, snakes, we have gotten them. Tarps, what we call tanglers, things that get tangled in our stars. This could be as simple as a plastic bag, or it could be as terrible as a chain. And we can spend an hour trying to get a chain out of the stars that I'm going to show you later, which is what takes out the paper in our facilities. So this is all to say that we accept a whole lot of stuff. We don't accept some things. So always make sure you know what to put in. We have a fun thing called the Recyclopedia. It's an online database where you can search over 1,500 items to say, does this go in the recycling bin? Yes or no. We also love questions at Ecomaine. If you want to email us at info@ecomaine.org. We'd love to answer your question. So let's move on. How does recycling work? Well, a truck picks it up, or you take it to the transfer station, or your truck picks it up. This is in South Portland. They've got a automatic, and this is in Portland. And the truck drives to Ecomaine in Portland by the airport. And now it's our turn. The truck dumps off. We take it from there. This is all your recycling that's being shoved up onto the upper level up here onto a conveyor belt. You can't see the conveyor belt. It's covered in recycling, but just know the conveyor belt goes this way. It goes up the hill, and then stuff falls down into our system. So this is all the material: paper, plastic, metal, glass, and cardboard, and yes, even trash. There is a wire right there, some sort of electrical outlet thing. There's stuff stuck in the stars. That's trash. But what we're focusing on here is the cardboard going up and over. Yes, things like large plastics go up and over too, but there's a human actually pulling things out down below to put it in the plastic bin. So again, cardboard goes up and over these stars. Everything else has already fallen through and gone a separate way on a separate belt. We're not seeing that now because it's already fallen through. We're going to see this trash bag. No, thank you. No trash bags in the recycling facility ever. The next area is the paper. The paper is being sorted out by small rubber stars. The cardboard was sorted out by large rubber stars. So here the paper is being pushed up and over. So it falls onto its own belt. So again, paper up and over, up and over, up and over. Glass, metal, and plastic fall down through onto a different belt. So here's that paper going It's going to take a sharp left and it's going to go downstairs to be baled. So in between, pause it here for a second, in between the cardboard being sorted out, everything falls down through and goes through a room. Humans are sorting out any small cardboard and any trash. Cardboard trash all day long is their job. They have to pick out your trash that you put in the recycling bin, whether you meant to or not, by hand. It's not a fun job, it's not a fair job, but it's a necessary job in our recycling building. How can you help? Only put the correct material in the recycling bin. When in doubt, look it up on our recycling recyclopedia, give us a call, give us an email. But if you're truly in doubt and you don't want to make a mistake, you can put that item in the trash. But it's kind of like riding your bike. Once you know the types of things that you can recycle, you know them for life. So go back to this little video here, because speaking of the wrong stuff, here are our rubber stars that sort out the paper. They are black in color with gray, brownish gray axles. But what we see here actually is every color. Do you think the cardboard and metal and glass are going to be able to fall through the cracks? No, because there's actually no cracks here. They're all covered in junk. Everything from shoelaces to shopping bags to chains to garden hoses to t-shirts, etc. Everything is stuck in these stars, and then humans have to climb in and cut all this stuff out. Again, not a fun job, but it is necessary for us to continue running. So this is just a waste of time and a waste of everything. But so please, again, put the right stuff in the recycling building or the recycling bin. The metals are removed by two different types of magnets. So this here is being taking out the ferrous metals. So ferrous metals are being grabbed and thrown, grabbed and thrown, grabbed and thrown into a bin all day long. That's the only job of this magnet. And this magnet is like your typical everyday refrigerator magnet. The other magnet, the reverse eddy current magnet, is the opposite magnet. So this is actually repelling, pushing material away from the system. So see here, everything flying up and over here, that's our non-ferrous metals, things being repelled away from the belt. So two different types of metals are taken out with two different types of magnets. Glass is then sorted by being smashed. We take that glass, we crush it with metal stars, and it looks like this. We then put that into a giant pile at the landfill. It's not going in the landfill, it's not filling up the landfill, it just happens to be at the landfill, the same location, way over to the side. And then companies can come pick it up and make countertops out of it for kitchens or bathrooms, or use it under new construction projects, or even use it as pothole filler. So it's a great filler, a great product. It is free. There's not really a market for glass. So no one is taking our glass to turn it into something else. And it hasn't happened for, I don't know how long. Troy probably knows, but I have no idea. But so we reuse it instead of just chucking it in the landfill and letting it fill up space. Next, number one, plastics are sorted by a machine, something called an optical sorter. This optical sorter is reading the chemical makeup of everything that passes underneath it, and it only can see number one because that's what we've set it for. So look for things flying upwards. That's number one's being blown up, just up and over a slight hill, so it goes into its own bin, whereas everything else is sorted in the next room. This is the last sorting process. Number two, natural colored jugs are here, things like your milk jugs from Oakhurst. Number two, colored plastic, things like your laundry detergent jugs that are white or orange or blue, go here. And then down here, that's 3 through 7. That's your ketchup bottles, yogurt containers, everything else. Even like your plants come in a pot from the nursery, that goes in the last bin here. So the plastics are sorted by the machine, optical sorter, or by humans into 4 different sections, even though there's 7 different types of plastics. The humans also sort out 100% of the trash. Humans have to do that again by hand. We don't have any machines to sort out the trash. So please, when you're recycling things, make sure it's the right stuff. Everyone will thank you. The very last thing that happens is that we squish everything together. If we were to sort everything out and then hold on to it forever, that would be called hoarding. We're not in the business of hoarding, we're in the business of recycling. So we squish things together, wrap them with wire, push them out, inspect them, to make sure they are clean and great enough to go out. And then we put them on a truck to send off to go to the next place. And I'll show you a map of those next places in a few minutes. So Richard here is turning over the bales. He is inspecting them to ensure the cleanliness. We will only send out quality product, because if we were to send out a truck full of dirty bales, that company would, one, probably no longer buy from us, and we'd lose that great contract. And two, they would make us pay for the return shipping of that material, which would be incredibly expensive. So it's a win-win if we send out clean bales, everything gets recycled. But again, to help Richard out, to help everybody out, only put the right stuff in the bins. So after he's done inspecting that, he'll put it on a truck. There's also piles outside that wait for trucks. They come every day, multiple times a day. Just depends on what it's picking up. This particular truck is picking up cardboard. So Richard's going to fill up that truck. We're going to weigh it. It got weighed when it came in, so we know how much is being taken away from us. We take keep great records, and then it will go off to the next place to be turned into something wonderful and new. The last thing I like to point out in this video is this is our trash building. So our recycling building is right next to our waste to energy facility. So right on the same campus, but two very different buildings doing two very different things. Where does our recycling go? Many places. Glass stays right here in Maine to be reused as fill. Plastics go to Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Tennessee, Michigan, occasionally Canada. Cardboard, Quebec, New York, or Massachusetts. Metals, both ferrous and non-ferrous, go down to Pennsylvania. And our paper occasionally goes to India. Sometimes it goes to West Virginia. Sometimes it goes to Green Bay. So quite a few places that our material is going. But the important part to remember is that all your materials, for the most part, occasionally paper goes out outside the country, but all the materials for the most part are inside the country being processed into new things. And what could those new things be? Well, playgrounds. This is Willard Beach. This whole playground is my favorite. It's made out of plastic containers, aluminum cans, and soup cans. This toy is made out of milk jugs. It's a recycling truck, if you couldn't tell. This mat is made at Ella Bean, and it's made out of recycled plastic. North Face makes some shirts made out of recycled plastic. Liberty Bottle Works makes bottles that you can drink out of, water bottles out of recycled metal. Cool company out in Oregon makes bicycles out of recycled metal. Your takeout bags at Hannaford's or restaurants could be made out of recycled product. And also my favorite, toilet paper. If you can, when you're able, please buy recycled paper, toilet paper. It helps keep our circular economy going, helps keep trees from being cut down. Again, it's a win-win-win. Always buy recycled. Let's move on to food for a few minutes. Food is not garbage. It's an incredibly valuable resource. We do not want your food at Ecomaine. In the garbage, rather. We do not want it to go in the garbage can. We certainly don't want it to go in the recycling bin. In the garbage can, it is not helpful for our fire. We do burn your trash. And when we get juicy, juicy food waste in the trash, it does not help our fire at all. So we want you to get that food out of the garbage can into a pickup bin through Garbage to Garden. If you're in, I don't know where everyone's coming from. If you happen to be in South Portland, they do a through the city program. But in general, Garbage to Garden does the pickup at your curbside in Portland. There are 5 drop-off sites in Portland. I'll show you a map of that in a second. There is backyard composting that you can do. Does take a little more effort, but definitely worth it. And then vermicomposting is way cool. That's composting inside your house with worms. You can get a fancy bin, or you can just get like a big Rubbermaid tub, put that inside another Rubbermaid tub, drill some holes, and get that going. So you can do that really, really cheaply, but really, really well. So why is it worth it to compost? Well, around 40% of America's waste is organic material. That attributes to around 219 pounds of food in the landfills annually. That's in Maine. So that's a Maine waste characterization study. And I know Troy will talk about that too. But our food is filling up our landfills, and it's contributing to methane if your trash does not come to Ecomaine, which if you're in Portland, it does. But just generally speaking, in the world, in the United States, even in Maine, trash goes to whole trash landfills, which attributes to methane, which causes global warming, which is all terrible. Why shouldn't we compost it, turn it into something new so we can grow new strawberries, new flowers, new trees, etc., and help the soil become healthier too? Food waste again matters because it's a huge waste of money. And I mean a huge waste of money, an incredible waste of money when we throw away up to 40% of the food in the US. It's also an incredible emitter of greenhouse gases after China and the US. So this is just showing you if food waste was a country, it would be the third most emitting global greenhouse gas emitter. And also there's a huge impact socially here. There are so many homes, so many children, so many adults, so many people who are food insecure, who are hungry, and yet we buy too many apples and then throw them away in the trash can. It doesn't make sense. So try and focus on what you need to buy at the grocery store. Reduce your food waste in the first place. Give away things that you are not going to eat, and then compost everything else you can. So the Portland drop-off locations, there's one out on Riverside Street. There's one in the Libbytown area, pretty near you guys. Of course, we're in the Woodford's corner right here. My little home happens to be right here, so pretty close. There's one on the West End. There's one on the East End, and there's one almost in the middle, just off Franklin, near kind of across Franklin from Whole Foods. So here are those locations. You can find this information on the City of Portland website as well. And then, of course, here's South Portland locations. If you happen to live or work in South Portland, again, I know that some people kind of cross-contaminate and come to programs outside of their area, but these are just the areas where you can find the South Portland bins as well. So just more options here. What kind of stuff can you put in there? So many things: tea bags, napkins, fish, meat, vegetable scraps, oils, fats, greases, eggshells, seashells, bones, dairy products, etc. Not everything can go in a backyard composting bin here. So if you're thinking, oh, I can put bones and meat in the backyard composting, well, unfortunately, no. What's happening is this is going to an industrial anaerobic digester, and it's going to be made into fertilizer and energy and animal bedding. Sometimes you can definitely send your stuff to a composting facility like Garbage to Garden. They have an industrial composting facility. Again, they take all this as well. So whatever you don't reduce, reuse, recycle, or compost ends up here. We're burning your trash all day and all night, 24 hours a day. Everything that comes in gets burned. So if we're thinking about materials that we use every day, think about the extraction of those materials from the earth, transportation, the refining process, the production process, the distribution process, and then our consumption habits. It's a huge waste to just dump it all in the landfill. So please try and reduce, reuse, recycle, and compost first before the trash. This is Ecomaine's waste to energy facility outside. We receive around 170,000 tons of trash per year. This truck is going to drive inside, open up, dump off here, and then go on its merry way to pick up more trash. What happens is, of course, we all make trash. It goes on the truck, it gets dumped off. A claw is going to pick it up. So think of that game with the teddy bears. The claw comes down, picks up the teddy bears, and you win. Or in this case, picks up 4,000 pounds of trash, and the fire wins. The trash is going to be burned for around 4 hours, rendered into ash, and then it's going to go onto a conveyor belt and into a truck. Right before it hits the truck, it's going to, any metals are going to be taken out by a magnet. So any ferrous metals will be removed by a magnet. What's happening next is the heat from the fire is heating up water inside the walls here. There are actually 2 fires, so 4 walls total with miles of pipe within each. Here's a picture of those miles of pipe or lines of pipe. The pipes have, again, water in them, which are heated by the fire, which creates steam, which runs through a steam turbine generator. The steam goes through the turbine, which is connected to a generator, which creates electricity, which means we're powering our trash building, we're powering our recycling building, we're powering our 2 electric cars with what electricity we're creating. And that's not all. I'll tell you more in a few minutes. We are also making pollution. Fact. Anytime you burn anything from a pile of leaves to a pile of garbage, you're going to make pollution. But luckily, this building was created to withstand the pollution and treat the pollution. So where are we treating it? Well, one is in the fire. We're spraying in something called urea to remove the nitrogen oxides. So rendering that a safe product to then go on to the next area. Our mercury dioxins are taken out here at number 2 because we're spraying something called activated carbon. That material is being sprayed in and it connects to the mercury and dioxins to make them very heavy, meaning they can no longer travel upwards and out. They're heavy, they fall down here, and we'll come back to this in just a second. Upwards goes everything else, minus number 1 and number 2 to number 3. Acidic gases are removed with the help of lime slurry. If you think back to the chemistry class you had, a basic material plus an acidic material, when they are come together in the correct amounts, neutralizes. So again, we are rendering that pollution safe to then continue on. To number 4, the electrostatic precipitator is removing particulates. That's a very fun sentence to say. The electrostatic precipitator has 6 giant curtains in it, which are trapping particulates. Particulates are the things that make up smoke that you and I do not want to breathe. So again, we are removing that material before it goes outside. Remember that there are 2 fires, but there's also 2 pollution control systems, which means there are 12 total curtains removing all of the particulates. The particulates are stuck to those curtains. Those curtains are hit or wrapped upon that material. Those particulates that are captured fall down here to meet with number 2, mercury dioxins that have been taken out, which all mix together to go to the landfill, never to be seen or heard from again. In the landfill, it's chemically inert. It is safe. It is not going anywhere. So lastly, by 5, we are testing the air to ensure the safety of the material that's leaving, or the air that's leaving our stack. 96% water vapor is what's leaving our stack. I'll show you a cool graph of just how good we are at getting pollution out in a few minutes. So here's some pictures. This is our trash room. So in this doorway and this doorway on that side of the room here, that's where the trucks drive in, dump off, front loader shoves it into this part of the room, and the claw picks it up from there. So the claw grabs a pile. Here's some lovely purple trash bags for anyone who's wondering where your trash goes. It comes to Ecomaine. And that claw is picking up material, bringing it up 6 floors to what I like to call the slide. It's not a slide you or I want to go on, but it's also called the hopper. It's just what leads to the fire. So keep note, we have 2 claws, one here and then one right behind it you might have seen. Again, 2 fires, 2 pollution control systems, and 1 stack where all the air leaves while being monitored. So here is 3,000 to 4,000 pounds of garbage that was just dumped off in here. But hey, look, there's a cardboard box and there's another one. By this point, it's disgusting. I can guarantee that probably did not look this bad whenever it was put into the trash can. So again, we need you to put the recycling in the recycling bin, the compost in the compost bin, and the trash in the trash bin. Because once it gets here, no one's touching this stuff. No one's sorting out your material to put it in the right place. So please do that at home. Again, we are making trash into ash. We are reducing the trash by 90% in size and weight and volume, and that's going to the landfill. Less pollution is made because we again are in the atmosphere, because again we're treating the pollution in the facility, and methane is not being created in the landfill because there's nothing to break down and create methane. Much less space is used as well because again we've reduced it by 90%. 12 tons of metal are being removed over the course of 24 hours as well with the help of this lovely magnet. So we're removing any metal. Say you threw away a box spring, all those actual springs are removed by the magnet. Please still put your recyclable metals in the recycling bin though. The landfill looks like this. It's a lovely place, very calm, very quiet, near Smiling Hill Farm, only 3 miles away from us. So we are saving emissions by not driving our trash as ash to long distance away from for our landfills. We are recovering our metals by recycling them. We are generating electricity and we're not using fossil fuels in our building for the most part. And we're also not creating methane here because again, this is chemically inert. It's in its final state. It cannot break down anymore. So this is what our landfill looks like. This is what other landfills tend to look like. I believe this is Augusta. So there are landfill fires. There is landfill leachate water that's very dangerous for groundwater wells and the public health and safety, as well as for animals too. So we don't want our trash to go to this place. We don't want it to go here at all in general, because we want it to reduce, reuse, recycle, and compost. Try if you can. But if you do have to send your trash somewhere, this is much nicer, I think. The next thing, of course, we're making besides ash is steam and electricity. So again, the fire is heating up the walls here. This room here is where the fire burns, but this is a picture that we took when we're cleaning it out completely and making sure that everything's set and ready to go for the next season, because we do clean out one boiler in the spring, one boiler in the fall, to again ensure that everything's safe and going well, because this is not the kind of building that you want an oops to happen in. So again, the water is heated in the pipes, which turns to steam, which runs through the steam turbine generator to create electricity. Ecomaine uses up to 15% to power our 2 buildings and our 2 electric cars. Someday, maybe not soon, COVID really got in the way of a lot of things, but someday we will have electric ash trucks that take our ash to the landfill as well. Very cool stuff. So the remaining 85 to 90% is actually sold to the grid to power the equivalent of up to 15,000 homes. So a lot of electricity is being created here. Ecomaine uses a little bit, we sell the rest to the grid. And again, we are creating pollution, no secret there, but then we treat it, and we treat it well. We're spraying in urea to take out nitrogen oxides. We're spraying in carbon injection to remove mercury and dioxide furans. That's happening down here. Up here, the lime slurry is being sprayed in to remove the acidic gases. This is the electrostatic precipitator, which removes our particulates. And then everything's being tested here before it is leaving our stack here. And this is a tree, not smoke. So nothing gross coming out of here. Speaking of nothing gross coming out of here, look at this. We are removing, and I'm so sorry, this should actually be mercury. We are removing an incredible amount of material or incredible amount of pollution from the air. This is my example, is mercury, and ignore this lead, sorry, but look at mercury right here. We are, in 2020, we were at 35% of what we could have emitted. So this is 100%. This is what we could have done. We could have emitted 25 pounds per year, but in 2020, we only emitted 8.8 pounds a year, which came to 35% of what we could have done. So just an example. The greater news is that in 2021, we emitted only 2.9 pounds per year. So that's really, really good. We could emit this much of all of our materials, but as you see, we're way below even on our highest level. So my friends, that is about all I have to share with you. I'm sure that was a lot of information. We do have an incredible waste and recycling library on our website at ecomaine.org. We've got that recyclopedia here that I talked about, that you could search all kinds of different items like styrofoam plate. That's a good one. Well, that is a trash item. Styrofoam is not recyclable. What about a milk carton? That is a recyclable item. So great news there. So again, when in doubt, check it out, look it up. We've got a lot of great materials that you can either print out, share with your friends, share with your family, posters, etc. So a lot of great things on our website. Very good information there. So my friends, in summary, please, please, if you can, cut down the amount of trash that you create by reusing things, giving them away if possible, by recycling items, and putting your food scraps, your food waste into a compost bin or a food waste drop-off bin, so that wonderful things can happen to it instead of just us burning it all. So that is my program tonight, and I would love to answer whatever questions you might have.
Great. Let's do, whoops. Hi, everybody who's here. I hope we've not really had a chance to say hi to everyone. We knew we had a pretty full program. Yeah, and so I'm wondering, Troy, what's your thought? Do you think you want to add your stuff in now and then we'll do general questions, or do you want to go ahead and?
Sure, why don't I just jump in and we'll run. I won't take very long because Katrina covered tons of ground. So I'll just add a little Portland specific information, I think. But I think one of the things that, Katrina showed a picture of the landfill. The landfill started in the 70s and it's still going, which is a remark. In fact, there's parts of the landfill that are there before the waste energy plant came. And so there was like a number of years when trash was baled and put in the landfill, and there's like, it's a huge space. And then the waste energy plant started actually with way more towns, and the amount of area taken up by the ash with over more years with more communities is less. And it's really remarkable. And Ecomaine in Portland is really unique, actually. There's hardly any other campuses like that, like Ecomaine, where all the waste from a region is collected, combusted, recycled, and then landfilled, all like on the same footprint. It's super unusual, and toot our horn here, Portland and the region is really is really leaders in that area. So, hats off to us. But I will quickly share a couple slides. So Katrina mentioned that we started our food scrap recycling composting program about a year ago. So we'll touch on that for a second, but I just want to give a little history of trash in Portland. And some of you may have lived in Portland for some time. Maybe you remember what trash used to look like in Portland. Everyone just threw crap on the sidewalks, and the public works truck came and picked it up, and there's no recycling. There was anything people had, they threw it out there. So that was like 20-ish years ago. So things have changed, of course. Now we have started out being blue bags, now they're purple bags. And then of course we have recycling, and Portland residents are tremendous recyclers. You can see the red parts of this graph are recycling. And back, in 1998, we recycled less than 1,700 tons of trash. Fast forward to this year, 5,300 tons of recycling. So a huge increase in the amount of recycling we collected. Back in the old days, it was like 5% or so. It was just hardly any. Now it's close to 40%. But what I think is actually more cool is the blue bars are like tons of trash that Portland threw away. So you can see back in the late 90s, we threw away over 20,000 tons, almost 24,000 tons of trash every year. So we started curbside recycling. We started with the purple bags, and now we're down to 9,500 tons a year. So over 60% reduction of trash. So kudos to Portland residents for doing a tremendous job in waste reduction. In fact, Portland, I'm told, has amongst the lowest per capita waste generation in the country. People are very impressed when they see this graph from other parts of the country. So we're on the right track, but there's things we can do a lot better on. And that is, and Katrina mentioned it, about 40% of what's in your purple trash bag, or most people's purple trash bag, is food waste or organics of some sort. So this, we did a waste composition study before we started the recycling cart program. And Dr. Travis Wagner, who was at USM at the time, and grad students and other students literally went out and collected trash, and they brought it back to a facility in Portland and sorted it all out by hand and screened it, and it was pretty impressive. And they found 40% was organics. And here's a picture of some of the stuff they were finding in as they did their waste composition study. So it was a gross job, and they all literally wore Tyvek suits while they did it. So we know we need to do a lot better. And so we have our One Climate Future climate action plan, and we have a whole section on what to do with trash and recycling. And our goal is to be a zero waste community by 2050. And since 40% of the trash is organics, that's definitely an area where we have to do better. And so there are some options Katrina mentioned. We have, Garbage to Garden is a service that it's a private service that many people subscribe to, and they do a really great job. I'm a customer myself. In the city in 2017, we issued a request for proposals. We asked companies if they would send us how much it would cost if we hired them to go door to door and pick up everybody's compost. And it was really expensive, and we couldn't afford to do it at the time. So we're, thinking what to do next. So as Katrina mentioned, we started last year on Earth Day, we started our compost drop-off sites, again, North Street Garden, Boyd Street Garden, Clark Street Garden, Libby Town Garden, and also we have them at Riverside Recycling Facility. Again, started about a year ago, so we're currently in the midst of a campaign to try to get input from the public. People seem to really like it. We've seen the usage go up every month, and we start out with 2 carts at every location. Some of the locations have 4 carts now, and they get picked up twice a week. So people really are using the program. But we want input about composting from the public. What can we do? What's great? Have you heard about the program? Even if you haven't heard of the program or used it, we want your input. So you can go to, if you went to the Sustainability Office webpage, you could get it. Or if you just did portlandmaine.gov/compost survey, you can go and fill out the questionnaire. Tell us what you think about composting and food scrap collection, and what do you think we should be doing. We're keeping responses open until April 15th, and we'll be reviewing them all. Oops. And so we certainly invite you guys to give us your feedback. And before I want to give a plug to this other program. It's kind of aside from trash, but we are electrifying everything. So if you go to our website, and we encourage you to read about Electrify Everything. We want to help everybody kick fossil fuels from their homes. We've collaborated with Revision Energy, who's going to help us put together financial resources and rebates and incentives in Efficiency Maine, and we're going to try to make it affordable for Portland homes to go all electric. So that is my quick little report, and so answer some questions with Katrina. You're on mute, Teresa.
For those who came in late, I just want to say thank you to Troy as well. Troy's from the sustainability program in the city of Portland. And there's a bunch of questions in the chat. If people would like to ask their questions, we can unmute you. That would be a really cool way, because oftentimes people have very specific questions they want to ask. So we're going to go ahead and unmute people. And then Megan, have you got that? You can, we could start with, let's see, Dom. Is Dom available? There's a question about the fabric.
Yeah, so I answered I answered everything in the chat, so feel free to go and look over there, but I'll answer them here too. He was looking for a recycling option to recycle fabric that was ripped, stained, etc., that cannot be donated or given away. And I recommended Apparel Impact. They do recycle fibers, and later he asked if there was any bins nearby. I do have a good friend who works there, so I did text her really quick, but she hasn't gotten back to me. I don't know exactly where the bins are, but check out their website. They might have where they are online, but also they're actually humans who answer the phone. So you can also give them a call too.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I actually have fabric too. That, yeah, it doesn't feel right to put that in the trash. Feels bad. Yep. Great. And then Mary, you said, where does the mercury and the dioxin you remove end up?
Yeah, so that actually goes to the landfill. So remember, that was actually captured and sent down to where down below, I was pointing on the screen where the ash was going on the conveyor belt. It also mixes with the particulates. So that all mixes in what we call a mixer conditioner. Think of like a giant, I don't know, cement mixer type thing. And what we call the fly ash, or the pollution, and the bottom ash, everything that's been burned, all mixes together. And it's called special waste, and it goes to the landfill. We're permitted at our landfill to take that material. It's obviously kept very, very safe inside the landfill. Lots of landfill lining layers to keep the environment safe. Lots of permits, lots of checking in from the DEP and the EPA, etc. So it's safely kept at the landfill, never to be seen or heard from again, because like I said earlier, it's chemically inert.
As an add-on just to that, after that is full and then finished, sort of that capped off, what goes on top of that?
Well, typically in the past, nothing, because you couldn't grow anything on a landfill for fear of permeating the membrane, meaning breaking through the cap to release the junk underneath. But these days, solar is starting to go on landfills, which is wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
In fact,
yeah, go ahead, Troy.
Portland's old landfill on Ocean Avenue has solar panels on it. So.
Oh, that's great.
Where is that located on Ocean?
So do you know where the dog park is?
Oh, yeah.
So it's behind the dog park. So if you parked, we're at the dog park, and then there's like a gate and up a hill. If you walked up there, you couldn't miss them. They're all on the top.
Okay, on the other side of Washington Ave. I think that's called like Quarry.
Yeah, Quarry
Yeah,
Run. Yep.
Quarry
So
Run, yeah.
up behind that, if you walk, and lots of people like walk their dogs around it and look for
Mhm.
birds. Really, it's pretty nice actually. It's really pleasant.
Mhm. There's a question about PFAS, which is in the news a lot lately. And again, I know that since we're recording this, I'm not sure the chat will show up for folks. So that's why I think repeating the questions and the answers would be great.
Yeah, so PFAS, it's terrible. It's not that we've just started learning about them, but new details have started to come to light. So there's no standards yet of how much we can emit or even how we test for it yet. But we are starting to look into that. We have an environmental health and safety person on staff, as well as another environmental person on staff, the PhD. I think maybe the other one has, and they're incredibly wonderful, incredibly smart people who are on it, always making sure that we are as safe as we possibly can be. So they are looking into that and seeing what what comes of what measurements we use and all that. So once we have numbers and facts and figures, we'll be following things to the T.
Right.
So we're definitely worried about PFAS too, and probably if you're following the news, you've heard that various farms and places have been contaminated, and people can't eat food from different farms, and you can't hunt deer in Waterville because of previous applications of paper mill sludge and sewage sludge that contain PFAS. So there's also some types of compost that are made from sewage sludge that also can have PFAS. So there was actually a report to the city council earlier this week from the city's pesticide management advisory committee that's recommending that we prohibit the use or sale of fertilizers or compost that are made from sewage sludge. So that's something that I think the city council will be reviewing in the future, and probably later this year. So
Good. Great. That's good to hear. Yeah. Another question I just saw and I lost it. Oh, and there's a question, I think, Troy, for you. What happens with yard waste?
Yep. So right now our yard waste goes to Riverside Recycling, and they collect it all up and they take it to their facility in Auburn, and they have lots of large compost piles, and they incorporate the yard waste into their compost piles and turns it into or actually, and they're a certified organic composter, so it gets sold into farms that are using compost to amend their soil and grow food. So
Great. Great. I'm trying to see where we're at. Do we have another? Bill, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a couple of them. Speaking of composting, did you say biodegradable dinnerware is not compostable?
So a lot of it is really problematic, and so it doesn't really compost very well. So organic composters really hate it because it often, it doesn't always break down as well as they would hope. And if there's like pieces of it left, or it can be contaminated, and so that could jeopardize their organic certification. So and so all compostables are not equal. Some work better than others, and they really need really great ideal conditions to break down. So if like a biodegradable straw or fork or something, it got into the environment as litter or fell in the ocean, it probably is never going to break down. It's just going to be a not biodegradable fork or a straw. It's just because they need really warm conditions and the right type of process to work effectively.
That's actually good to hear. Bill, you have more questions?
Oh yeah, just another one about oily pizza boxes. I always had the impression that we could not recycle those. What's the verdict on that? Is that
Yeah,
still
so
true?
if you open up the pizza box and the bottom is just like super saturated, what I do is actually cut out the saturated part and I compost that part, and then the rest goes in the recycling bin. But if you open it up and it's got a couple spots or a couple splotches of stuff, that's absolutely fine. That does not affect the recyclability of it. If you didn't want to cut it out, you can just tear off the top. We'll just take the top. So yes, pizza boxes are recyclable. Just if the fibers are completely saturated, that's just maybe the part that we don't want.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, that
And
makes
compost
sense.
the pizza crust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We do
Yeah.
not.
Compost the pizza crust, yeah.
Compost is, I mean, cardboard is compostable, but coffee cups aren't?
No, because the coffee cups have a plastic coating to them.
Oh,
Yeah, they are recyclable because the plastic can be separated from the paper fibers.
so that's how you recycle milk cartons.
Yes, milk cartons or orange juice cartons, wine in a box, etc. That's poly coating. It's not a wax coating, poly or plastic coating. And yes, the fibers are able to be separated from the paper in the sorting, or not the sorting process, but the pulping process.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. So ice cream cartons too, I guess.
Oh yeah, definitely. Bring it on.
Oh, that's
Great,
cool.
great. I'll go buy some more ice cream. Now.
Yeah.
Ben and Jerry's, right? Now we're all set. So,
Yeah.
I
Great.
think before, I know I want to be conscious of time. Are there other questions? Lynette, did you have any
I
questions?
do.
Okay,
I have quite a few, but I'll limit it to like one or two.
do whatever you want.
Well, so as a family, that's not really brought up in the sense of being really conscientious of this. I'm trying to be more thoughtful. With regards to the importance of cleaning plastic containers. So let's say like cans from food that you're going to dispose of, or condiment containers or yogurt containers. How important is it for it to be like super clean before you put it in there?
Great question. We do not require anything to be super clean. We require everything to be empty. So we
Okay.
just want your contents, left in there. So empty it out. If you want to give it a quick rinse, that's amazing. But at no point do we say you should put it in the dishwasher, you should soak it for an hour, you should scrub it with all the
Right.
water, So empty, not clean.
Okay. The other
Can
question
I
I
just
have
ask one
is-
more question
Oh,
on
okay.
that? Add on to that. You said something about the caps. You can't leave the caps on the bottles?
Yep. If you want to recycle your plastic top, it has to stay on the plastic bottom.
Okay,
If you happen to separate it and you find the top 3 days later after you've recycled the bottom, that top is not recyclable because it's too small. It's going to fall through the cracks. It's going to waste our time when we have to sweep it up with the trash.
it's gonna
Oh.
go into the trash. Got it. Okay.
So for instance, that would be like the milk jug and the cap that goes with it.
Yep.
So probably easy to say, but it would be better to buy milk in a plastic container, a cardboard container, or glass.
Well, the glass is going to be reused. Say Smiling Hill Farm, you would take that back over and over and over and over again. So always, that's the number one thing when you
First.
actually reuse it.
Mhm.
Second, it's really a choice of what you want to do. I mean, yes, oil is not great. So I personally would buy in a cardboard box, but it's all personal choice at this point.
Yeah, no. I mean, I feel like I have a daughter who's like almost 10, and I'm trying to think about how to educate her about this, and I'm still trying to navigate it myself. So,
That's great.
it's still a learning curve in a lot of ways.
But yeah, Smiling Hill, I recommend it 1,000 times over because they reuse the glass containers.
Yep, gotcha.
One of the things I did is I started buying Smiling Hill Farm milk and making my own yogurt, because those yogurt containers I had over the 20 years I've been eating that yogurt, man, I don't know how much trash or stuff I've created. So now I just make my own, and then I can give the bottles back. So go ahead, Vanette.
One of my other questions is, I struggle now in the market when I'm buying eggs. In certain times of the year, I can buy it very easily from neighbors or friends, fresh eggs. But with regard, I can't believe that we still see as many plastic containers for eggs as we do see. And there's a fairly limited option for ones that are in probably, I don't know if you would quantify it as cardboard, but something that's more easily recycled. And I just like, I kind of go back and forth with that. I'm just like, okay, obviously fresh, not in a container is best, but are the plastics that like the eggs come in, is that typically recyclable?
Oh yeah, that's number one plastic. That's a really great quality plastic that gets turned into new containers and carpet and clothes and everything. Try the farmer's market. Maybe there's a farmer there who has eggs, but also try a different store, Trader Joe's, Hannaford, Shaw's. Whole
Yeah.
Foods. You know, find one that has a great free range, organic, whatever kind of eggs you buy in the cardboard.
Yeah.
'Cause that's
Yeah.
a really good product.
Yeah, I feel like plastics are the trickiest.
Yeah.
Is like knowing like, is it 1 to 7?
Yes.
And they're not always as easily identifiable. And it's like, I don't know what to do with it sometimes.
Yeah. Well, definitely check the app, the Recyclopedia. It's a free download on your smartphone.
Yes, that
Just
would
on
be
the
great.
website. But again, you can also call and email us, info@ecomaine.org. We get questions all day, every day. It's my favorite part of one of my favorite parts of the job. I love answering questions because it means that you're learning and that you're going to do better tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
Just like building on the plastic part, if you're going to use plastics, the ones that are number 1 and number 2 are the most recyclable, the highest value. We get the Ecomaine makes the most money from selling those to people. So those are like 1s and 2s are the best plastics. So
Okay.
I have,
Hey,
go ahead, Bill. You have another question?
no, I just wanted to show something. You can, if you want to reuse your Ziploc bags, they make these devices that you can put them down on upside down, and they'll dry out real easily.
that's
You see how
cool.
they kind of expanded? It's really nice. It's made out of
Where did you
wood.
get that device?
I think it was off Amazon. My
Wow.
my wife found it on a website or something. But I just want to let you know that they do exist, and this has
Wow.
been fabulous because I just put it on there. They dry, and then I reuse them.
Wow, that's
Yep.
cool. Very good.
Yeah.
I have a very hokey system trying to dry mine out. It's like my kitchen looks a little crazy, but I guess a couple other things I want to point out for people who have thought about it. The Portland Food Co-op, where you can buy food in bulk, bring your own containers, and now the Go-Go Refill, which is in South Portland. We're trying to get them to do one in Woodford's Corner, so we're
Nice.
desperately trying to get them to set one up on this side of the bridge. And so again, really nice to be able to fill your own containers versus buying like shampoo bottles and everything else. I had one question too for the Packaging Act that about changing packaging. Is there any thoughts about that you guys can share with us?
I'm all for helping people recycle better, whether it's, I'm all for it. I think we even testified for like the EPR laws on trying to get the manufacturers to do better, because they just leave it on you and I to figure it out at home.
Yeah.
And that's not easy, and sometimes it's not cheap. So we need to make sure that, that we're all for it at Ecomaine, and me personally. The better you can make things for the consumer, the better it is for everybody.
So Portland has been a strong advocate of extended producer responsibility for a long time. We supported all of the product stewardship bills, including the most recent EPR bill, which it did pass, and Maine is a real leader, and it's going to, it's passed. Now it has to be implemented. So the DEP is working on the rules currently. And so then that means that all the packaging producers will need to help cities and towns pay for collecting trash and processing recycling, because right now, as Katrina mentioned, taxpayers are the ones who are responsible for cleaning up all the mess of all the materials and products that were sold into our communities. So it seems only fair that the people who helped make those. Also, one thing that's cool about it is it gives them incentive to make their products more recyclable, because their costs will go down if their products are more recyclable. So that incentive puts the incentive in the right place.
Right, yeah. And if there's things that citizens can do to help support that, I'm not sure everybody knows that that was even, that's been up and people have been pushing that for a long time.
So it's
Is there a
passed.
way
Now
that we
it's,
can help
yeah.
push it past? Yeah.
So the DP is in the
Okay.
process of making the rules, and so we kind of have to wait for that process to run its course.
Okay.
But it was supported
Great.
by many people in Maine, statewide. So it had a lot of support. The legislature and the governor both supported it, and now we're waiting for it to take effect so we can help get the industry to help start paying the crazy costs we spend on handling waste.
I always say vote with your dollar too. So make sure at the grocery store you're making the right choices. When I go get kale, I don't get it in a bag. I don't put it in a bag that I pull off the roll. I put it in one of my canvas bags that I bring it home in and then wash the canvas bag. Because it's not by weight, even if it was by weight, the canvas bag adds, a minuscule amount to the price. So make sure you're bringing extra bags so you can put your apples in one and your oranges in another and your potatoes in another, and, buy loose when you can, and then just wash them when you get home. And then you're cutting down on the packaging. So vote with your dollar and either buy no packaging or buy recyclable packaging, or buy less packaging in general if you can.
This has been great. You guys, I know we've gone a little bit over what we planned. I want to just check in if there's any other questions before we let these guys finish their work days.
So I'll do one more plug. Can I do one more plug? So
okay, great. Another plug. Great.
if you want to come talk to Katrina and to me again, if you come on April 1st to Post Office Park between 10 and 2, we're going to be hanging out in the park and talking about recycling and electrifying, and window dressers will be there to talk about how you can make your windows be less drafty. So just come out and hang out. Look, you can see our electric cars. I'm sure Katrina's probably going to drive an electric car. I'll have an electric car there. So
Great.
yeah, kind of just a pre-Earth Day event.
What is the hours of that on April 1st?
10 to 2 at Post Office Park right in downtown Portland.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Yeah, we'll make sure that we put that out as well. That's terrific. I'm going to just say thank you. One of my favorite books, The Story of Stuff, is such a good read for people to start really thinking from the beginning to the end. So if you haven't done that, that's going to make you really think it through. I think, Katrina, you had that slide about it's the chain, man, of the story of our stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm pretty proud. Portland's pretty cool compared to other places I've lived. So I want to thank you guys again very much for being willing to do this tonight. And we're going to keep doing, we hope, other sustainability activities here in Woodford's Corner, so we become the greenest corner that we can possibly be. So thank you to everybody for attending. Right, and we'll try to post all